Hello and welcome to the 2019 African Crap of Nations final. I am Samuel Leighton, joined by James Cartwright. James, this is a tournament 11 years in the making, when we birthed the idea of the crap tournaments back playing the Euro 2008 game, and now here we are on the BBC in the sunshine in Mauritius. What have you made of this?
Well, you can't beat the beautiful weather we've had recently. It's been absolutely fantastic. But we've got two sides that I feel are worthy to be in this final. Rwanda in particular, I feel they've been the best side for me. I said that in the commentary against Mauritius. The way they brushed them aside, played the better in the two games they played against them. And Eswatini have gone from strength to strength. We like that underdog, and they've proved to be that story. And how can you not get behind Barry Steenkamp?
Exactly, Barry Steenkamp, 9 goals in this tournament. An absolute prolific forward. We said in the briefing before this, really, that he reminds us almost like a Romelu Lukaku, but with pace. And he uses that Usain Bolt celebration, and he's got the same physique as Bolt, hasn't he? An absolute statue of a man, really. He just doesn't seem to be brushed off the ball.
He doesn't. He leads this line fantastically well. 9 goals, unprecedented at this level of crap tournaments. We're talking about Naki Wells. 5 years ago managed to get 8 goals in a crap World Cup, but of course there is an extra round at that tournament. But as we say, Eswatini, they're not just a one-man team, I would say. They've got Felix Badenhorst as well, who really complements that front line. Yeah,
he's a classic number 10. He plays like a Mesut Ozil kind of player.
Do you feel? Yeah, would you feel he's more of a number 10? I was thinking he's more of maybe a classic Bergkamp type.
Yeah, perhaps maybe a little bit more advanced, but still talking that Arsenal link-up, man. We've got the Henry of Steenkamp, and then.
Well, I was just thinking that purely because of the 12 and the 10.
Yeah, the numbers work.
Not that.
They do
not
work,
that.
Although Henry was the 14.
It was the 12 at international level. Wasn't he?
He was, but even so, Felix Badenhorst, a man who can really. He can change the game, and actually he outshone Steenkamp for me in the semi-final. I think that Steenkamp does get himself the goals. We know Steenkamp's going to get the goals, a pure finisher, but Badenhorst just manages to link up that play, connects that midfield to that front line, and yet again we see Eswatini brushing aside teams. But to go back to Rwanda, a side that for me personally don't have that one standout guy. They have about 3 or 4 players really that I think make them tick. Do you want to run us through some of those players, James?
Well, I would say the 2 forward players, Tiasenge, really shone in the opening game and shone that last game, the semi-final there.
Certainly did.
Mehdi Kagere, I feel, has come on and probably been the main man in the last 2 to 3 games. And you've got the likes of Makunzi as well in the midfield. You've got 2 fantastic midfielders as well.
And Makunzi, for me, it reminds me sort of like a Luka Modric type player in terms of the World Cup, the fact that he just makes everything tick. He doesn't do too much, but then we see him popping up with an absolute cracking strike at the start of the tournament. And then, you know, he just kind of... He's one of them players, you don't really notice him doing everything all the time, but you do know that they'd miss him if he wasn't playing the tournament. But both sides going in with a full-strength squad, which is something
that's promising. I mean, that... You know, we've seen many red cards in the knockout rounds. Potentially couldn't have been the case. Certainly wouldn't have been the case if Zambia had been here.
Yeah, that's very true. They would have missed the Stopila Sunzu and the guy, I forget the name of the man, the number 14 who made his debut actually in the semi-final.
Simon Silwimbe?
I believe it was, yes. Stopila Sunzu, I believe, would have probably played in this game anyway. I think that would have probably been overturned. But But regardless of which, both sides going in full strength. I'm not going to really ask you for predictions, James, but what do you expect to see from this game? For the fans that perhaps don't really know, haven't been watching every game, what are you going to expect to see from these 2 sides, Rwanda and Eswatini?
I would expect to see quality attacking football, forwards who can finish, because both these sides have probably the best forwards in the tournament, you would say, apart from Asad Adebayor. But as I say, he's in his advancing years, and maybe if he'd been 4 or 5 years younger, we would have seen Togo at this stage of the competition. I mean, he did well early on, didn't he? But yeah, I think we're going to see 2 sides playing the right way, playing in an attacking manner, and I think we've got 2 of the better goalkeepers as well at this in this final as well.
Yeah, we do a fantastic save from the Eswatini goalkeeper in the last fixture, and just a consistent goalkeeper for Rwanda. But a guy who stands behind a five-man defence, does that make it difficult for Eswatini? Is Barry Steenkamp going to come unstuck against a defence with that extra man there? Is it going to be harder for Badenhorst to link up between the midfield and the attack?
I think you're going to have to look for Badenhorst to do the hard running as he does, to drag the defenders away. I would expect that Wundenelko and Sabedse, they need to work the likes of Ruggero. I think an underrated character, got his first goal in the semi-final. Them two full-backs are fantastic. I just think you've just got to drag them out position and try and make the space for Steenkamp, and he's got to be smart with his runs, really.
He certainly does, and I think that if anyone can break it down, it will be Steenkamp. But the opposite side, defensively, for Eswatini, they haven't really had to deal with two solid centre-forwards yet. I mean, they did kind of do that against Zambia, but we saw that Alex Ngonga certainly wasn't on having his best performance. But we saw what Brian Mweer was able to do against them. Now, is that going to be a threat for them, knowing that Medi Kagere and Toya Senge can perhaps perform like that?
No, I think they'll end up having too much for them, to be honest with you. I don't feel like Eswatini have really been stretched on many occasions. I mean, they did deal with Tiefi Bafuma very well in that second game, but as they were very much on the attack for the majority of the game. So that's the key, really, managing to keep on the football, making sure they're having the attacks rather than getting attacked against.
I mean, looking at the way that these sides have gone through to the final, Rwanda, they don't really concede goals. They get a few goals, but then they absolutely wipe the floor with the hosts. Eswatini, very much, we're going to score more than you. And that could lead to trouble for Eswatini, but also, if Rwanda don't get the rub of the green and they actually find themselves behind in this fixture, it could be very hard for them to get back with that defensive structure. Just quickly, James, before we get into the action or pass it over to the guys in the studio, I want you to give me a prediction. First of all, what's going to happen in this final?
I'm expecting an exciting game. I would go quite a high scoring game, but I'm going to go for Rwanda. I feel like they've been the better side. I feel like they're more schooled. I feel they look ready to win the tournament. I feel more, as I said, that Eswatini are a dark horse, and that's how I feel it's going to go. I feel Tiasenge and Medi Kagere are a better. I know Steenkamp has got the 9 goals, but I just feel like they're a better two than Badenhorst and Steenkamp.
I think it very much is a France v Croatia. I think Eswatini the Croatia in this one.
Okay.
I think that France should be able to take this one. Rwanda should be able to take this one like the French did. Yeah, I'm actually going to go for a 3-1 scoreline of Rwanda myself.
Okay.
And just quickly before we do hand back, I know I said we were going to a minute ago. Who's your player of this tournament?
Who is the player of the tournament?
The player that's lit it up for you.
Oh well. It's a tough one, actually. Given the way he's performed recently, and I just really like the way he plays. He's a very skillful player. I'm going to go for an outside choice. I'm going to go for Medi Kagere. I just feel he's played very well.
He certainly has come into his own in the knockout rounds. Finding that a lot in this tournament, that some players had a fantastic group stage and some players had a fantastic knockout round, but very few managing to go through both the knockout round and the group stages on form. One man that springs to my mind, the man who'll be playing later on, it is of course Barry Steenkamp, but I think all these players can leave with their heads held high. What an absolute advert for African football this has been, and it'll be a sorry state for us to leave Mauritius, won't it?
It will be. It's a beautiful set of islands. I mean, Mauritius can be proud of their achievements at this tournament. You know, they're a side who've only really entered the crap scene within the last year or so. I don't believe there were any tournaments previously before that, but I think they've proved themselves to be at least a top 15 side at this sort of level.
And I think not only the fact that they actually perform well in the tournament, what a fantastic show they've put on. Stadiums packed to the rafters. Hoping the Anjalay can regain some of that atmosphere that it has been able to provide this afternoon, but genuinely what a fantastic tournament it's been. We're going to hand back to the guys in the studio now. So that's a goodbye from me on this fantastic beach, and a goodbye from James. We'll catch you very shortly for the final of the African Cup of Nations 2019. Rwanda versus Eswatini coming up, and it's live.